Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be talking about the Nvidia Shield and if it's worth buying one in 2020. Now, they've released a few models over the years. The original Shield was released in 2015. That's the bigger model you see here. I actually picked this up in 2016. It's been an absolute trooper. I've had to pull it apart 3 times to clean the fan on it, but it still works, and it does absolutely everything that the newer 2019 models can do, except for AI upscaling. Now, I do want to talk about the tube version. This is actually the cheapest, newer one that you can buy. It comes in at $149. And this has been my go-to Nvidia Shield for the living room ever since it was released in 2019. It has 2 gigs of RAM. We still have that Tegra X1 Plus processor with AI upscaling. But unfortunately, it runs a 32-bit version of Android TV, so 64-bit apps won't install like the Dolphin emulator. Either way you look at it, all of these Nvidia Shields have been great Android TVs. I mean, these are the best you can get, and if you watch my channel, you know I've tested a ton of different Android TVs and ARM-based single-board computers running Android TV. But nothing has even come close to the Shield TV for 4K video playback, emulation, native Android gaming, and PC streaming using Geforce Now. In this video, we're going to test out some 4K video playback, streaming, and native playback. We're also going to go over Geforce Now, some native Android games, and emulation. And by the end, I'll let you know if it's worth picking one of these up in 2020. And just keep in mind, the performance you're going to see in this video is the same across the board. So even if you can pick up the older 2015 model for cheap on eBay or Craigslist, you will get the same performance that you're going to see in this video. Okay, so first and foremost, the Nvidia Shield is definitely made as a media player, whether you want to stream or play natively from an SD card, an external drive, or even a NAS that you have set up in the house. I have my Shield hooked up to a BenQ EW3280U. This is one of my favorite monitors of all time. 4K 60Hz, HDR10, I mean, it looks absolutely amazing. And I'm actually filming the screen here because I have no way to capture 4K video playback, but I've just headed over to YouTube. We're going to run a 4K 60 FPS video, Big Buck Bunny. This is my go-to test. And I've turned stats for nerds on. Now, if you can see it here, there's 60 drop frames, and that always happens when I first start up a 4K 60 FPS video on here. But if I just let it go, I won't get any more drop frames throughout the whole video. And I'm not exactly sure why this happens. I guess it's the initial buffer just taking over here. But if you try this same video on other Android TV boxes, you'll notice that it's constantly dropping frames if you're at true 4K 60 FPS. Another thing that the Nvidia Shield has built in that a lot of other cheaper Android boxes don't is the correct Widevine license to allow 4K Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, all of your favorite streaming apps will work in 4K on the Nvidia Shield. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other inexpensive boxes like the Xiaomi Mi Box S that allows Widevine so you can get Netflix 4K. But if you pick up a cheaper box on Amazon or eBay, or even some of the more expensive boxes from B-Link that range from $100 all the way up to $300 now, it does not support 4K Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime because of Widevine. And one of the things that the Shield does better than any other Android TV box or ARM-based single-board computer that I've tested is native 4K video playback. This is Big Buck Bunny, 4K MP4 60 FPS, no drop frames, we're getting a constant 60 here. And I do want to mention that I'm running this off of a micro SD card with a USB 3.0 micro SD card reader. This is not on the internal storage. And if you're a regular viewer of my channel, you know I test this with every ARM-based single-board computer or Android TV box that I get, and the Nvidia Shield is the only one I've ever been able to get this to run at full speed with no drop frames, 4K 60 FPS. So moving over to Plex, it works great on all of the Nvidia Shields, but just take note, if you have the new 2019 tube version of the Nvidia Shield, you cannot turn it into a server. It will work as a Plex player just fine, but there is no way to turn that into a server. I'm not exactly sure why they did that, maybe because we only have 2 gigs of RAM and a 32-bit operating system on that one. But if you have the original 2015, the Pro, the 2017, and even the 2019 Pro version, you can turn your Nvidia Shield into a Plex server. Personally, I utilize a different server, so I only use this as a Plex player, but it works amazingly well. Even the 2019 tube version, that's the one I always have in my living room. It's hooked up right now, and that's what we use to view all of our 4K content. And one last thing here in regards to media playback, I think one of the best things here about the Nvidia Shield is all of the media playback apps are available on Google Play, and with some cheaper Android TV boxes, you will have to sideload some of these like HBO Go, Amazon Prime, and Netflix 4K. But with the Shield, they're already here and ready to go. Moving over to gaming on the Nvidia Shield, I mean, there's lots to do here. There are some great native Android games that you can download from the Google Play Store. Lots of awesome emulation can be done on this machine. But I think my favorite part about the Nvidia Shield is Geforce Now, or Nvidia Games as they're calling it now. This is also available on most Android phones. You can download it from the Google Play Store. You can actually use this for free, but it's very limited. They do charge per month, and in my opinion, it's worth it if you're going to use it and you have a decent internet connection. And what this allows you to do is stream games you already own. This is not a marketplace, and you're going to be streaming them not from your own hardware, but from Nvidia's hardware. So with most of these games here, I can do 4K 60 FPS as long as my internet connection allows me to do it, and it actually works really well. I've done a full video on this. This is something you definitely have to try before you kind of believe in it. But I'm going to head over here to, I got a free-to-play game that I was just in, Dauntless. Go ahead and load it up. And this is much different from the Steam Link or Moonlight because we're not streaming from my own PC. We're actually using the Nvidia servers with some pretty nice hardware. But keep in mind, this does require a pretty decent internet connection. I'm actually connected over Wi-Fi right now. Ethernet is definitely the way to go with something like this, though. And by the way, I'm using an Xbox One controller connected over Bluetooth to my Nvidia Shield. If I press start here, I'll go to my options. And I'm only able to record at 1080p, so we're set at 1080p, unlimited frame rate. The quality is set to 100%, and I'm on epic settings. And everything just works really well with Geforce Now as long as your internet connection is decent. Go ahead and get out of here. Along with Geforce Now, there's also some really good Android games available on the Google Play Store here on the Nvidia Shield. This is a totally different Play Store from your phone. We have Half-Life 2. I'm not streaming this from Steam Link or Geforce Now or anything like that. It's running natively as an Android game on the Shield. I think it's $10 on the Android TV Play Store, but if you're into Half-Life, it's definitely well worth it.
Dr. Breen again? I was hoping I'd seen the last of him in C14.
Finally, we'll just go with Real Racing 3. Now, when it comes to the Google Play TV version, it's kind of limited. You're not going to be able to install PUBG or Call of Duty Mobile, but there's still a lot of great games here. Sticking with the gaming theme, the Nvidia Shield also handles a ton of great emulators really, really well. We're going to go with PSP using PPSSPP. I will go to Tekken 6 here. OpenGL, you can use the Vulkan backend if you want to. I'm at 3x resolution, no hacks on, and we'll just see how this plays. FPS is up in the top right hand corner. Tekken 6 isn't a super demanding game, but I'd say it's in the mid-range of the PSP games to emulate. This will do God of War, but you have to take it down to 2x and turn on a couple hacks, but most of the stuff does work at 3 and 4x resolution. Next up, we'll go with Redream, the Dreamcast emulator. Again, performance with this one is also amazing. And by the way, I'm at 1920 by 1440, no frame skip. So yeah, the Nvidia Shield has you covered in media playback, be it native or streaming, 1080p or 4K. We also have some great gaming using Geforce Now, some awesome native Android gaming, and some amazing emulation. I mean, this has you covered in pretty much all aspects of an Android TV. So to answer the big question of this video, should you buy an Nvidia Shield in 2020? Personally, I think the answer is yes. This has actually been my go-to media playback device since 2016. I never bought this when it first came out in 2015, but I've upgraded each time they've put a new one out. 2017 and now the 2019 version. If you don't need 64-bit apps like the Dolphin emulator and you don't really want to turn your Shield into a Plex server, I would actually go with the Tube version. That's the one I have downstairs connected to my 4K TV. It does all of this emulation and gaming like you saw in this video just as well as the Pro model here. So yeah, if you've been looking for a good or the best Android TV, I mean the Shield is definitely where it's at. And I don't see them releasing a new one for at least another year, maybe 2 years. And even then, that's just speculation. I'm not sure if they're ever going to release another one or not. But out of all of the Android TVs that I've ever reviewed, or ARM-based single-board computers running Android or Android TV, I mean, this is the best performer. It's really hard to beat something like this unless you go x86. So that's it for this one. I really appreciate you watching. I can highly recommend the Nvidia Shield. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.